Okay, so I'm Cadet Denhard for my desert island project, or I guess just video. I'm gonna be talking about my books. I got 3 books, 2 movies. Um, yeah, I only read one of the books, so you'll kind of notice through this that I'm a movie fan more so. But one of the books I read as a kid in middle school, which is we'll start with it, Animal Farm. It's one of my favorite books because it's just kind of a satire on, I guess, like human behavior and I guess how groups form and like notionally, or not notionally, but just kind of in the background, communism as well, obviously. I find how the animals interact and what they represent and the farmer and all that to be really interesting. How George Orwell was able to, I guess, pull that all together and bring it all to be kind of a cohesive message and make it, I guess, less silly than the concept would sound. Like, it's a very, like, obviously it's a satire, so it's kind of funny, but it didn't feel like having animals on a farm represent kind of like communist rule and all that. Sounds like a goofy idea, and I think it works out pretty well. For my second book, I'm going to be talking about Shutter Island, the book, which was the original, and then it was adapted by Martin Scorsese for the movie Shutter Island. Main guy in that is going to be Leonardo DiCaprio. But the book, if you don't know the, I guess, general plot, is about a man who's sent to investigate a psych ward and find out more about it. And what happens is, basically throughout the book, it's revealed that slowly through little hints that he's actually a member of the psych ward and he doesn't know that he is crazy, and that's their way of trying to finally cure him. And more about the main character is revealed. And I just find the reason I would bring it on a desert island, I guess I should have explained it for the last one, for Animal Farm, is just how it kind of shows like groups of people, and just kind of the way you can pick apart that book for its meaning in so many different parts and different characters. And kind of the same with Shutter Island. Shutter Island's more so like kind of a fictional story, not really representing much like in terms of society, more so just that the story is really compelling when you don't realize that the like the main character is the person being worked on, and he's not actually an investigator. So I think going through that book and looking at the little details that kind of show that he's the person being kind of treated instead of investigating, trying to find where you would find that twist earlier, just picking through that, you can do that forever. So many little details, so much little I guess things that you wouldn't expect to see, but once you see it and you get it more and you've read through it a second time, like, you can just read that book forever. So definitely take that one. Third book I'm bringing is another one based on a movie. To be honest, I read these books mostly after watching the movies or the movie adaptation. There's another movie adaptation book, American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis. I was originally brought in by the movie. It's kind of become a mainstream thing, even though it kind of started as a cult classic. But this one I'm going to kind of have a passage for, which is the beginning, which was also adapted in the movie. I'm just going to quote it here. "There is an idea of a Patrick Bateman, some kind of abstraction, but there is no real me, only an entity, something illusory. And though I can hide my cold gaze, and you can shake my hand and feel flesh gripping yours, and maybe you can even sense our lifestyles are comparable, or are probably comparable, I am simply not there." And so American Psycho is a satire on, I guess, quote-unquote yuppie culture, which is basically the culture of rich businessmen up in New York City and Boston and the Northeast who kind of just like try to portray themselves as these good upstanding citizens, but in reality behind the scenes were many of the times they would have like cocaine addictions or just didn't really care for other people and were just completely focused on money. I think this book does a really good job, and the movie as well, but the book I actually prefer to the movie because I find the movie to be a bit over the top sometimes. The book is much more I guess like not nuanced. It's more subtle about it, which I like. It's looking at human behavior, like specifically one person, kind of the like psychology behind his actions and kind of just the psychology of him, while also satirizing society as a whole. And I find that dynamic to be really cool. I find the main character, Patrick Bateman, to be really cool and something you can definitely pick apart for a while. So I guess with those 3 books, the reason, like, I tried to pick a collection where it's like a little bit of something, and I'll get into my 2 movies after, but for these 3, I think it's cool because Shutter Island is just a really cool story, something you could go through, just read a bunch of times. American Psycho picks apart one person's psyche, and I think that's really cool. It's not just, I guess it's just cool picking apart kind of a psyche. And then Animal Farm picks apart society as a whole, and in another satire. But I think those 3, it's looking at different things, and I think that's good variety. For my 2 movies, which I'm choosing, I'm going to choose, funny, they're both about space. First one, 2001: A Space Odyssey by Stanley Kubrick. This is my favorite movie of all time. Basically, it just goes through like the development of humanity from just kind of monkeys figuring out how to use tools, and then there's the introduction of kind of a god figure, or like aliens with the giant monoliths, evolving over time into a space-faring species, which eventually leads to the ending where we create AI that we need to get rid of, that are like challenging us, and us visiting basically other planets in search of more exploration, where eventually man is turned into a god. And that's a really interesting story. I think it's a really all-encompassing story. Also, the soundtrack's really great. That's good because I'm not bringing any music because the other one's a movie as well. And it's just like such an all-encompassing story and such incredible cinematography. I wish I could see it in IMAX sometime. That it's just something that would kind of fulfill me for a while. And then my second one, funny enough, is WALL-E. It's a movie by Pixar. Probably my favorite childhood movie ever. It's about the robot WALL-E living on, I guess, kind of a post-human Earth, and trying to find the, I guess, robot equivalent, or the the robot equivalent of love with his the other robot, Eve. It's a really, I remember watching it as a kid and watching it on, like, as an adult. It's really, I guess it's like so well made. I really like the visuals, but also just the story. It's cool. I think the idea of trying to make robots very human, like tackling a very human topic like love with robots, it's super cool. I think it's very, very well done. Very, obviously just well executed. Super cool story. And that would kind of round it out with 2001 exploring humanity as kind of a history of humanity evolving, and then WALL-E exploring like human emotion and love with robots. I think it's really cool. And I think with those 5 pieces of art, I would be on a desert island. I know this kind of went over time, but I wanted to talk a little bit extra. Thank you.